This was Minnesota's state flag from 1893 to 2024. It was deemed racist, and Minnesota lawmakers decided to replace it with this BS modern art liberal crap. They did it to Minnesota. Is your state flag next? So, I know I'm late to this topic, but the Minnesota state flag was changed this year on May 11th, and I and many other Minnesota voters were ticked about it. In a poll done by Thinking Minnesota, 52% of voters did not want to change the flag. 16% of voters did not like the new flag and wanted to go back to the drawing board to figure out something different, while only 24% of Minnesotans liked the new flag, and 6% were indifferent. On Facebook, the reactions were overwhelmingly negative. Sarah says, "I think the old one was nicer." Another Sarah says, "My thoughts are it's crap. We should never have changed it." Flag stores, like Coyle's in St. Cloud, are having to order more and more of the old flags because that's all that customers want to buy, while the new flags are just sitting there on the shelves collecting dust. They say customers come in and order 5, 10, 20 of the old flags, while the only people who are ordering the new flags are government officials. So let's talk about the old flag versus the new flag and see what's going on here. This is the old Minnesota state flag. It is the Minnesota state seal set on a background of blue. You can see there is a ring of 19 stars around it, symbolizing that Minnesota was the 19th state after the first original 13 colonies to join the United States. At the top of those stars, there is a larger star representing the North Star, which symbolizes steadfastness. We see a banner with the French words L'Étoile du Nord on it, which means Star of the North, because Minnesota was the northernmost state besides Alaska. You see a ring of lady slippers around it, because lady slippers are the Minnesota state flower. Then you see 3 dates on it. You see 1819, which is the founding of Fort Snelling, a historic fort in Minnesota. You see 1858, which was the year that Minnesota became a state. And you see 1893, which is the year that this state flag was ratified. Then you look at the little picture inside, you see Norway pines in the back, because the Norway pine is the Minnesota state tree. You see the St. Anthony Falls and the Mississippi River, both of which contributed a lot to the transportation industry and settling of Minnesota. You see a Native American on horseback and a pioneer plowing the land, giving tribute to Minnesota's agriculture. You see a stump there, giving tribute to the lumber industry, and there is an axe and a gun leaning against that stump, symbolizing progress. So this state flag is just packed with Minnesota history. It has so much symbolism and Minnesota history in it. So why change it? Why indeed? Apparently, this flag has been facing charges of racism since the very beginning, when Governor Sibley, the man who was behind the design of the flag, refused to replace the stump with the suggestion of a teepee. Ever since then, people have been claiming that this flag is racist because it highlights the progress of the white pioneer and the erasure of the Dakota people, a Native American tribe indigenous to Minnesota. I don't see racism here at all. I see a Native American and a pioneer coexisting peacefully. So in 2023, Minnesota State Legislature established a State Emblems Redesign Committee in order to redesign the Minnesota state flag and seal. According to state statute, this new design needed to, quote, accurately and respectfully reflect Minnesota's shared history, resources, and diverse cultural communities, end quote. And this is what they came up with. Let's talk about the symbolism behind this flag. So again, we see a background of blue, Minnesota blue, meant to mark us as the land of 10,000 lakes. The dark blue angle is meant to represent the shape of Minnesota. And then we see a white 8-pointed star, again representing us as Star of the North. The artist chose to use an 8-pointed star instead of the traditional 5-pointed star to give a nod to the Dakota flag, which, as you can see, also has an 8-pointed white star. As far as I can see, this flag symbolizes a few of the most basic facts possible about Minnesota. Looking at it, you get no clear idea that it represents the 32nd state of the Union. Going back to Facebook, Naomi says, it has nothing to do with Minnesota. Holly says, very bland, not my personal preference. Nothing to take pride in or represent our state. However, nothing that should be offensive either. So maybe this has hit the PC goal? Exactly. I see no history here except maybe of the Dakota people. Well, there actually may be one more of Minnesota's minorities represented here. Let's let Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire explain that.
Minnesota has a new state flag, and the new flag of the erstwhile lily-whitest state in America looks suspiciously like the flags of Somalia. Here is Democrat Governor Tim Walz announcing the change. Okay,
right,
Governor
ready.
sits down.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Not wearing a tie, very sloppy looking. He moves the state flag out of frame, leaves the American flag for now, and then he puts this new state flag in. It's a star.
There, that's better.
I've got here in my hand some flags of Somalia, of the nation of Somalia, and then also of individual states. So we've got the flag of Galmudug. Looks suspiciously. It's not a perfect. It's not a 1-to-1, but it's pretty close. We've got the regular flag of Somalia. It doesn't have the triangle, but we got the same kind of blue, and then the star. Then we've got this one, the flag of Hirshabelle, which is a federal member state in south central Somalia. That also, it's kind of reversed, so the triangle's on the left side, but very, very similar looking. Then we've got the flag of Ras Kaysar state in Somalia. That one, I think some earlier designs of the Minnesota state flag looked a little more like these, and then they rejected some. But the final product, it's just weird. It's just weird how similar the new Minnesota state flag looks to flags of Somalia. Now, the change stands to reason. There are officially upwards of 87,000 Somalis living in Minnesota, virtually all of them in Minneapolis. The real number is actually higher, as some 94,000 Minnesota residents are reported to speak Somali as their primary language at home. Presumably, that number does not reflect 7,000 culturally inquisitive Scandinavians who just decided to pick up an East African tongue for fun one day. So we're talking about upwards of 100,000 people. Who knows, maybe more. Now, the entire population of Minneapolis-St. Paul is only 425,000 people. Almost 1 in 4 Minneapolis residents are Somali. And 1 in 3 American Somalis live in Minnesota. That is the political reality. And since flags are symbols of polities, the new flag reflects that changed reality.
The Dakota people make up less than 1% of Minnesota's population, while the Somalis make up 1.1% of the population. So are we really going to erase the entire history of Minnesota for 2% of the population? So yeah, people are pretty mad about this. And one thing that they are mad about is that it is a big waste of money. From Facebook again, Steve says, keep the current flag, big waste of taxpayers' money. Cindy says, don't like it, doesn't represent Minnesota. I feel it was a big waste of money and time. Now, extra money will be spent on changing all the flags at state buildings, printing costs, logos, labor, etc. Where is all the money coming from to pay for this? The taxpayers' money. And because of this, a lot of citizens feel that they should have had a say in changing the flag. Leanne says, definitely don't like it and totally disagree with changing our state flag. Keep our state flag just the way it is. We should be able to have a say in it. But what I say is that we did have a say through our elected representatives. So if we don't like this, vote better, Minnesota. This sort of thing only creates more division in an already divided world, and this Democrat project just fuels it. Finally, I have a word to all of you watching who are not from Minnesota. Your state flags are next. Illinois, Maine, and Michigan are 3 states who are currently debating flag change, and others are soon to follow. So, be the change you want to see in the world and spread awareness to stop this from happening. In Minnesota, hardly anyone knew that this was happening until it was a done deal. So, share this video with your families and friends to spread awareness to this issue and stop state flags being changed. That's all I have for you folks. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed and maybe learned a little something. I'll see you in the next video.